All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Talk at Noon. This is our second one, and I'm so excited to present this to you guys once again. Some great information every week at on Tuesday at noon. You can join me, Stephanie Fish from Norton Sports Health, talking about our 2021 KDF mini and marathon training program. So as you join us here, just so you know, we are live, so anything can happen because I'm kind of nuts. So each week we put together a different regimen and different topics to talk about. And of course, today is our topic of getting faster and how to incorporate different techniques of speed work into your training. Now, you might notice as you've begun your training program that I did put something special on there this year, which is tempo runs. So we are going to talk about tempo runs, how to do them properly, and how to approach them from a beginner to an experienced level way. And then also we're going to talk about some other things you can just start bringing into your training program. In the past, we have done hill work, we have done track work, and then we're also going to add a few other things there that our special guest will be talking about. So just a couple housekeeping things as we're going along here. Everyone is muted to limit background noise, but please use that Q&A feature down on the bottom of your screen. You just click on that Q&A, and anytime you have a question about anything beginning now, you can put a question in there and we will do our very best to try to address it. So make sure you put your questions in there. Don't be shy. I know you have them. And then also, of course, after this live recording is done, we are recording it, so we're going to post it in the Facebook by tomorrow. So that way, if you couldn't join us today live, you can still watch it later on at your convenience. So without further ado, let's kick things off with our guest, my friend, my head coach, because I am an assistant coach for him, so I know how amazing he is. He is a coach. He is a teacher at DuPont Manual High School, Coach Tim Holman. And I'm going to talk a little bit about him. His bio is very extensive and very amazing. So he's been coaching for the past 20 years. This will be his 8th year as head coach at the boys and girls cross country teams and as the distance track and field coach at Manual. So, and he's had a lot of success there. So listen to this. In 2020, the girls team finished 5th in the state and the boys finished 12th. I was there for that. It was awesome. 2017, the girls team won the AAA state championship for the 2nd consecutive year. And they also finished 2nd at the 2017 Nike Southeast Regional, qualifying for the Nike Cross National Meet in Portland, Oregon. So these girls have had a lot of success at Manual, and they finished 19th in the nation. He has also coached 3 individual state champions in cross country and numerous all-state runners. Coach Holman is the distance coach for track and field as well, like I mentioned, where many distance runners have captured 17 individual and relay state championships over the past 6 seasons. So there's a lot going on there. He knows a lot about speed work. Listen up, take notes, give us your questions. Coach Holman also, on the side note, he's not just a coach. He was a runner himself. He ran for the University of Washington indoor and outdoor track and field team. So if anybody's from the state of Washington, say hi, because I don't know many people from the state of Washington. So without further ado, thank you, Coach, for joining us. I know you're having a very busy day because you're coaching virtually, you're teaching virtually, and everything's kind of a challenge right now for you.
All right, unmute. Thanks for having me. That's right. I am a teacher first and a coach second. This is an odd time to be coaching. You can see that my coach's gift this year, point in the right place, had little coronaviruses for the 2020. So that was pretty cool that the parents put that together. But more than anything, yeah, I'm a coach, but I'm a runner just like you all are. I'm going to go out and get in my miles a little bit later today. And unlike how I was in high school and college, I used to be a competitive runner. Now I just go out and I do it for fun. It's something that I enjoy doing on my own. So what I'm going to do is share with you A few things that I've used over the years, 3 specific strategies. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and pull up a PowerPoint. And let me play from the start here. So hopefully everybody can see this. I think one of the important things is to know that speed is an important part of distance training, especially if you want to improve your performance over time. Some things to keep in mind, I borrow coaching from a variety of different sources, but one of my fundamental beliefs is that the human body is really good at responding to stimulus and adapting to that. What you're doing when you do a workout is you're putting your body in a difficult position, and hopefully it will respond to that in a more efficient and a better way the next time you do a similar workout. The body, this allows us to learn, train, and get better at all sorts of tasks, including running. So when we train in a particular way, that can result in adaptations that make us faster, that make us more resilient, and make us able to run farther and more effectively. But the key is targeting your training so that you can train different systems. Obviously, when you get into a race, when you get into the mini marathon or something like that, you're using all of your systems. And if your training regimen is one in which you're basically pushing up against the edge of your ability every single time you run, you're not going to be in this for very long. You're going to burn out. So what you want to do is recreate some of the stresses that you would face in a race in order to train those various systems in your body. That could be something from VO2 max, which is your body's ability to process oxygen, to lactate threshold, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But you don't want to recreate all the stresses you would face in a race. So what you really want to do is throw a lot of different things at your system. You want to do different things that work different systems so that you don't become overtasked in what you're doing and more liable to have injury as a result. In addition to that, and I'm sure Coach Fish has talked to you about this, proper recovery is key to any of this. And if you recover and you're patient, your body will adapt to these stimuli and help you improve over time. So why speed training? My old coach used to say that long, slow running makes you a long, slow runner. Look, that's basically what I do now. As a 46-year-old, I go out and I run. Sometimes I speed it up a little bit, but look, I'm not planning on running any races. I'm not trying to get any faster. It's just something I enjoy doing. And the long run and mileage is a key element of any distance training regimen. We have a long day every week. But if it's all you do, you're only training your body to adapt in one particular way. And that's fine if you're just a hobby jogger, if you're just somebody that's out trying to stay fit, kind of like I am. But if you want to improve your racing performance, you need to add additional elements. So I'm going to focus on 3 specific things: tempo runs, hill repeats, and fly 30s. First, tempo runs. Tempo runs are all about improving your lactate threshold. Your lactic acid is something that your muscles produce when you're doing anaerobic work. And over time, you can get better and better at what we call buffering that lactic acid and improving your lactate threshold and your body's ability to process that. So tempo runs. Look, I've heard a lot of different people call a lot of different things tempo runs, but they actually are quite specific things. The pace for your tempo run is basically 25 to 30 seconds per mile slower than your current 5K race pace. So if you're somebody that runs a 17:35K, the easy thing to do is just subtract. We'll make it 17:45 to make the math a little bit easier. But you subtract 45 seconds for the last 0.1, and then you divide by that last 17. So I believe that would put us somewhere around 5:40 pace for that. Our tempo pace would be closer to a 6:10 or 6:05 for something like that. So as I said before, it's designed to help you improve your ability to process and buffer lactic acid during your workouts. When you're doing a tempo run, you want to choose a relatively flat surface without stopping points. This can be done in several ways. When you start doing tempo runs, I really suggest doing something that a coach named Jack Daniels developed, tempo mile repeats. And basically what you do is you do a mile at that pace, you rest about 60 to 90 seconds, and then you do another mile. I recommend sets of 3 to 5 of these. There's also one way to build up to a full continuous tempo run is to do a broken tempo. We like these with some of our younger runners. You do 15 minutes. I usually rest about 3, then 10 minutes, rest 2, and then finish off with 5. Note that when you're doing longer tempo runs, you probably need to tick that back to maybe 30 to 35 seconds per mile slower, or maybe even if you're doing a longer tempo, 40 seconds slower. The longer your tempo, a little bit slower the pace. But the whole idea is to kind of be able to buffer and process that. And after that race, or after that kind of workout, you should feel pretty sore. Secondly, hill repeats. Love hills. I grew up in the foothills of the Olympic Mountains, and hills are a way to absolutely get better in so many different ways. Hill be done in a variety of ways, but I really like long, gradual 2 to 3 minute hills. Iroquois is great for this. There are parts of Cherokee that are great for this. This is more of what we would call an interval workout. And when we do an interval workout, the rest is slightly more than the work. So if you're doing 3 minutes up, it's probably going to be 4 minutes to get you back down. Classic intervals are more even, like 3 to 3, but it's more difficult to create that in a hill workout. Strength benefits. It helps improve your running economy and your ability to run efficiently. These longer hill repeats also help with your VO2 max to be able to process oxygen, to build the better lung capacity, to build capillaries in your muscles, and so on. Form benefits. This might be the biggest. When you're running uphill, look at the way that the buff young man there that goes to the Naval Academy. He's really driving that knee. You're up on your toes. You're powering your glutes, which a lot of people disregard in their running. It gives you better stride length. And look, there are mental benefits too. It makes you tougher and better able to handle both a hilly course or a difficult period in a race. But the primary benefit of hills from a physiological standpoint is that it's lower impact. You're not pounding the ground as hard because you're running up it. You got to be careful on your recovery though, because you can really be banging those bones on your way down a hill if you're being too aggressive on the downhill, okay? Lastly, fly 30s. Now, this is something you got to be careful with if you're an older person, but if you really want to work on your speed, you've got to work on maximum velocity. You've got to work on being able to go fast. And speed workout means speed. I love fly 30s. Sprinting is not just for sprinters. Fly 30s, I set up with cones at 30-meter increments, and I'm really specific about it. I roll it off. 30-meter build up, 30-meter at maximum velocity, and then a 30-meter breakdown. You must be properly warmed up. I recommend these on recovery days. These should not be hard to do, and you can work alternate systems on recovery days. So if you have an easy 40-minute day, I'd run for 20 minutes, do a set of 4 fly 30s in the middle, and then finish up your workout. You can also do these in increments. Do 10 minutes of running, a fly 30, another 10 minutes, a fly 30. But make sure there's proper recovery. Focus on relaxation when you're running. You should be running as fast as you can over that 30 meters, but you want to maintain proper form, proper stride length, and turnover as you go. I do 3 or 4 of these usually. And if you're not pushing your maximum velocity, it makes it very difficult to make those sort of changes in a run a kick at the end, and so forth, and so on. So I'm going to share just a really quick kick of the week. This is a former runner of mine that now runs at Notre Dame, but it really shows he's running in an 800 meters here against a lot of 800 meter runners. He's a 3,000 miler. But look at his form, look at his relaxation on this kick. Well, if I can get this to work. Well, it looks like I'm having technical difficulties. So I'm not going to be able to bring this up, but I'll see if I can post a link in the comments so that you can see his kick of the week. So this is my contact information. Feel free to email me, and obviously I'm happy to answer any questions you have about any of this stuff. I'm not sure if I'm overtime, undertime, or what have you, but let me go ahead. Let me see if I can find this real quick and perhaps share this with you all. Oops.
Well, Coach, while you're looking for that, I'm gonna go ahead and hit up a couple of questions I have from Facebook. If you can kind of do two things at once here.
Absolutely.
So should we do speed work when we are sore? For example, from a long run or from maybe a cross training day? Is that wise to do it when your muscles are kind of sore?
Fly 30s, yeah. I wouldn't go and do a hill workout, or I wouldn't do a tempo run unless I'm properly recovered for that. But when you're doing like pure speed work, you're working very different systems. So it's not something I do more than once a week, but I think as long as you get properly warmed up and you know, I wouldn't lace up your shoes, head out the door and start kicking. You want to make sure, especially if you're sore, you know, recovery days are actually a great way to process lactic acid. There have probably been many a recovery day where you went out the door feeling like a bag of bones, but actually felt pretty good on your way back in. So when you're doing, you know, we do some other things. We do 150 strides where we'll kind of go 70%, 80%, 90% over those 350s. And we also do 200 form strides where we'll do 200 meters, just sort of, you know, long, not necessarily, you know, even close to all out, but just with big arms, driving the knees, really focusing on form. All these things you could do after a hard day. You just don't want to overdo it.
Okay. So as I mentioned, I put a tempo run option on our training program for Wednesdays. So for example, looking at this from a beginner runner pace, maybe 10, 11 minute miles. Let's say Wednesday is a 5 mile tempo run. How should someone break that down? What's a good way to break that down pace wise? And also, you know, should you do the full 5 miles at tempo? Should you just do 3 minutes intervals? What would you suggest?
You've got to go far enough to actually build up that lactic acid. So I would recommend that you at least go a mile in your increments when you're doing this kind of stuff. Or, you know, a lot of stuff that we base on time. So for some of you where you don't necessarily, not exactly sure exactly what a mile is, you might do it in 10-minute segments. But understand that when you're doing tempo, your recovery is pretty short because, you know, as a coach, we focus as much on recovery as we do on the work, because you can really throw off a workout by giving somebody too much rest or not enough rest. And in the case of a tempo workout, the danger you get in is too much rest, because especially on the first tempo, you're probably not going to get into your lactate threshold area until maybe 3.5, 4 minutes into that run. So you're really only hitting that lactate threshold over the last couple minutes. So what we don't want to do is bring that all the way back to zero again. We want to bring it down so that within a minute or so of the next the next mile, you're again tapping into that lactate threshold again.
Very good. And then we talked about hill repeats. So on the stride for a hill repeat, would you suggest your stride to shorten and create a faster turnover, or would you suggest that it actually lengthen out and do it that way, as compared to as compared to running on a flat road? Excuse me, sorry. Yes.
That's a great question. Here's the thing. I teach my kids to race differently on hills than they do hill repeats. So I actually prefer a longer stride on hill repeats. And if I'm in the middle of a race, what I'm telling a kid is shorten your stride, increase your turnover on an uphill. Because you want to conserve, you want to conserve energy. If you stride up a hill, that's putting a lot of effort into the period of the race where you're actually going to be going the slowest. So, but you have to understand, when you're doing hill repeats, you're not training necessarily to model the behavior of racing. What you're doing is you're training your body to handle faster, more strength-oriented work without stressing your body as much as you would if you were doing those on a flat surface. So I actually recommend the longer stride, driving the knees on the uphill segment.
Okay. Now we may or may not have hills on our route. KDF has not confirmed exactly the route yet, but if by chance we are hitting the ramp up Big Four Bridge and the ramp back up from Indiana, if we are hitting that area on our route, those ramps are pretty steep. So you're saying during the race to maybe shorten it and be more efficient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from a racing form standpoint, on a hill, I always shorten my stride a little bit and increase the turnover a little bit. And the way to think about running hills is that you're not necessarily maintaining speed, but you're maintaining effort. And one of the fundamental racing techniques of our program is we actually race downhills hard. We almost never run hard on downhills in practice because of the pounding. But in a race, you can really make a move on somebody by using that momentum on a downhill. But yeah, it's all about maintaining intensity, but not necessarily worrying about maintaining pace.
Nice. I have a few more questions from Facebook. Didn't want to throw it out there to you guys watching. The Q&A section on the bottom of the screen, get your questions in there. We're not going to be here all day, so you got to get them now. Don't be shy. Get your questions in there. All right. The fast twitch muscles. What are they, and how will fast twitch muscles actually help me in a endurance event like the mini or the marathon?
So there's not a lot of evidence that you can radically change what's called your muscle mix. And some people have more fast twitch muscles and some people have more slow twitch muscles. I had a kid a number of years back who was like 99% slow twitch. He was a great runner, but I told him, you better have a 150 meter lead at the end of the race, because he could increase his turnover, but it was so sad because he'd always get walked down. And that's just the way it is. But look, fast twitch muscles enable you to do a number of things. It enables you to kick at the end of a race, but it also enables you to mix it up over the course of a race. I'm a big racer, so I'm not as big. Like, pace is great in workouts. When you're in a race, it's all about you and the person next to you or the person in front of you. I'm a competitive person. I don't care if I'm out in, some, silly little road race. If there's a person out in front of me, I'm catching that person. So the ability to make those moves and be able to adjust to that. But what you can do is there are people that sort of resign themselves to being fast twitch or resign themselves to being slow twitch. Everybody has some mix, and you can definitely train both of those in an effective way.
All right, let's move to a Q&A here. I have another Facebook question, but I think it's going to tie in with something else over here. So Tammy asks, seriously though, can we do hill work on the treadmill if you absolutely do not want to run outside for one day? Not to say I don't run outside all the time, but that I want that option. So hill work / speed work on a treadmill, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge treadmill guy. I'm a bundle up guy, but I understand that there are certain situations that require you to be on a treadmill. The problem with too much training on a treadmill, in my mind, is it turns you into what I call a deer strider, where you realize that if you jump up in the air, the mat will extend past you, and when people are on treadmills too much, they become hoppers. And I actually had this kid a number of years back who joined the team that was running like 8-10 miles a day on a treadmill. And when he came out, he was bouncing down the track. So look, especially I've got a decent treadmill. You crank those puppies up, and you can absolutely do speed work and things like that. You just have to be careful from a safety standpoint. I would be really cautious about working up to high levels of exhaustion. If it's a lot easier to fall off a treadmill when it's cranked up like that. So make sure somebody else is home. Maybe if you've got one of those little I'm falling and I can't get up wristbands, one of those. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And in fact, that is a way to get in, aside from Iroquois Park, you're going to be hard pressed to find a really long gradual hill, but you can manufacture that on a treadmill.
Awesome. Okay, and then I'm going to tie these two in together. So what would you suggest the best speed workout for pacing? But then also Chris asked in the Q&A, what's the best way to improve your pace time? So he runs about a 10-minute mile, wants to get into the low 9-minute during training, but what speed work should you focus on? So adjusting or finding your good pace for the race, what is it?
Right. That's one of the most difficult things. That said, people tend to be habit forming. So a lot of times people will develop this sort of comfort. So if you're going by my principle of variety, you want to throw different things at your body. So if all you ever do is at 10-minute pace, that's what you're going to run. So you definitely have to push yourself into some difficult situations. This is where I think fartlek running is really effective. So fartlek is a Swedish word for speed play. And fartlek is where you throw in different bits of speed into a workout. So one of the ones that I do that kids like the most is we do kind of a staircase. So they'll go off on a 50-minute run, and they'll do a 1-minute pickup, a 2-minute, a 3-minute, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. So they'll be going just sort of their standard pace, but then for a minute, they'll pick up that pace and then drop back. And you can do a series of 1-minute segments. You can do a series of 2-minute segments. We do a paired fartlek where we do loops. One goes out slow, one goes out faster, and when they pass each other, they switch. But that's a way to get your body used to running faster paces. And what you'll find is if you can go to that place and then settle back into your pace, it teaches your body that it can handle different speeds and different paces over time.
All right, awesome. And we have one more Q&A here from Anthony. I was a sprinter in high school and college, so my form in distance running is still like a sprinter, meaning I'm on my toes most of the time. And I found shoes that work for my style. However, being older now, I have not conquered the lower back pain occurring on mile 8 to 13. Any suggestions?
Yeah, so I'm a middle distance runner, so I was never somebody that really enjoyed the longer stuff. And I was a mid-foot striker. In fact, when I was in college, in high school, I'd have almost no wear pattern on my heels because I'd hit flat and then roll off the front. So it is really important that you get into a shoe that has that front foot cushioning, because a lot of the running shoes put the predominant amount of the foam and the cushioning in the heel. And if you're not a heel striker, that's sort of wasting your money. So if you go to a good shoe store and you tell them, look, I'm more of a midfoot striker, or I tend to be up on my toes more. But you almost have to teach yourself to run differently. And, it's something to be mindful of, and get into the kind of feeling of rolling your heel, especially on your recovery days, where there's absolutely no need to be up on your toes. Really focus on extending it's called dorsiflexion. And when you're doing drills, doing a lot of dorsiflexion with your foot. Let me see if I can back up and show people. I'm wearing jeans, but dorsiflexion is, it's really hard to see. But
your background
it's where you, yeah, it's where you pull your foot up as much as possible like that. And we're really habit forming. So if you've got a buddy you run with, a partner that you run with, ask them to tell you when you're doing things improperly. If you're one of those people where your arms are constantly coming across and you're doing this thing, have your friend be like, form, tell them to tell you, because you'll mindlessly just fall into your routine. So, I just think now I'm more of a heel striker because I'm 46 and I ain't going that fast. So the only reason to really be up on your toes is if you're running 6-minute miles. And I haven't seen a 6-minute mile in a decade.
I think I tried to do a 6-minute mile on the treadmill, and I did exactly what you talked about earlier, almost fell off the back. So the emergency cord got pulled, and it's very, very dangerous. So yeah. Those evil treadmills. So we've answered a lot of questions. You've given such awesome info. So big thank you to Coach Tim Holman from DuPont Manual High School for joining us today. Again, we are excited to offer this Tuesday talk every week, every Tuesday at noon. And for next week, be very excited because it's just me, but it is yoga live. So no guests, just me. I'm going to take you through a lovely 30-minute, nice little lunchtime yoga stretch, nice and chill, and we'll have a good time. I'll tell you the best stretches to do after a hard run. It's going to make your hips feel good, your back feel good, everything feel good. So now go out and get your Tuesday run today. Don't forget, we are on our training schedule, and we will see you next week. So thank you, Coach.